Welcome, everybody. I am David Mauro, Vice President of Business Development here at NetGain Technologies, and we have an excellent podcast episode for you today. We are meeting with Dr. Sergio Sanchez, Head of IT over at Coleman Health Services in Ohio. A great career, lots of experience in leadership, some overcoming some challenges, and I'm really looking forward to hearing your story and you sharing your experiences with us. Dr. Sanchez, welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you for the opportunity. I am so glad I can be here with all of you, and I'm ready to tell you a little bit of my life.
Well, that's phenomenal. So let's start at the beginning. So, when you were first born, no, I'm just teasing. What got you into the field that you're in at first? Like, what brought you into? Because you've had numerous roles of, chief information officer, IT director, IT managers. Like, what got you into the field in the beginning?
Well, let me tell you a little bit of my story here. I was around 13, 14 years old. And one day I had to go with my father to his office. My father was an architect. And I think I was bored out of my mind waiting for him. To the point that actually his assistant looked my face and says, "Hey, are you bored?" I says, "Yeah." "Okay, come with me. Let me show you something that we just got for the office."
Ah.
So she bring me to this place in front of a very weird, typing machine with keys that were, extra in a normal keyboard,
Right.
for, a typewriting machine.
At the time, yeah.
In front of a TV, which was amber color and has Apple icon. So she told me, "Look, we just got this for the office. It's an Apple IIe device. I'm telling you now my age.
Wow, the
And
Apple II.
yeah, and came with some games.
Oh my
What about if
gosh.
I show you how to play the games? Meanwhile, you're waiting for your father."
Right.
Perfect. That was love at the first sight, or love at the first keyboard touch.
Yeah.
I fell in love with that computer. To me, it was like getting into a different world.
Yeah, it was like a window to a different world, isn't it? Like you were able to
Absolutely.
and even back then, I mean, they were pretty rudimentary. Like because I got started back then, and like it wasn't that exciting in the beginning with the black screens and the green lettering and the prompting and all this stuff. But it was always amazing how much you can make it do. Right? Like you could get it to do things that you couldn't get it done anywhere else. And so,
Absolutely. And with that in mind, every allowance that I was getting, I was just saving it to try to get a computer.
mm-hmm.
Of course, it took me several years to get money enough to buy a Commodore 16. Not the
Oh,
64, the 16.
the
Uh,
16, which is
and
before the Commodore 64, which I believe every guest started on. So the
yeah,
Commodore 16 is even the precursor to that.
a
Wow.
precursor of that was, this company that later on they created another one called Amiga.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I fell in love with computers. And at that time, was basically the beginning also of what people was able to do. We're talking about in the middle of the 1980s,
Right.
and I started learning myself how to make games.
Mm.
Basically, today you have a new game release every month.
Mm-hmm.
At that time was every 3 years.
It's very rare. Right.
You have it. So I start to learn basic,
Mm-hmm.
and from there, oh, this is interesting. Let me see something else. Fortran, Pascal. I'm telling you, very old computer languages.
Yep.
But my real career, my real love for things was medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to school to become a medical doctor. I am a certified general surgeon by the University of Mexico.
Oh,
Time passed. I played with computers during that time, but not really as often as I used to do it before. One time, going in vacation, I met this American woman, which I fall in love with, and decided to move to the United States. So after a year back and forth, New York City, Mexico City, etc., I decided to move to the United States and try to continue practicing my
hmm,
medical career. All surprised to get my license here to prescribe drugs or to
right.
do surgery.
Yeah, it's different,
I,
right?
I,
It's
yeah, I have to go back to school.
yeah,
And
because they
with a
don't
broken
those
heart,
credits. You'd think those
mhm,
credits would apply, and then maybe have to go through some testing or something. But it really, they don't really give a lot of like equal
correct?
credit transfer. I,
Exactly. So
yeah,
with a broken heart and with a kid coming in his way, I have to get something higher than just be a medical assistant.
right.
Talking about living in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
So I took the opportunity to go to Columbia University. At that moment, they were opening a new program in computer science.
Oh, very cool.
Uh, they accepted me in the program. I became basically master in computer science by Columbia. And from there, everything was related to computers.
And you never
First
went
job,
back. You never went back and said, I really want to practice medicine. Um,
correct. And in some ways, some of my jobs here in America was a combination, actually.
you've always
Actually,
been involved in healthcare IT and
ex-
compliance since I've known you. So,
yes,
right,
absolutely. So my point was maybe I cannot help the patient directly,
right.
but I'm helping the people that help the patients.
Yeah,
So in so an indirect way, I'm helping those people to get healthier
yeah.
or
And
save
you're
their
part
lives.
of the community. You're part of the medical community. You're part of the culture there at the healthcare organization. So you're still very passionate about that, which is phenomenal.
So the thing is, I try to understand, different worlds. I think I'm very good translating information. I can translate all this technical jargon that we have in the big world
Yep.
to normal everyday talking with people.
Yeah, that's really what is lacking, right? That when you really think of the void, why certain initiatives, why organizations don't do what they're supposed to do or don't improve their technology or their cybersecurity, a lot of it is because they don't know. Like a lot of it to me is it just hasn't been translated well enough, right? They just kind
But
of, they don't measure it right, or they just kind of say, well, you never know. You know, like a street light, red, green, yellow. We're kind of yellow right now. Well, as a business owner, like how do we invest in yellow? Like I don't know what
that,
yellow means, right? Like we need to understand the practical impact, and so that the translation that you're talking about is fantastic.
uh, this is interesting because just like you see, people has the fear of things that they don't know.
Right,
And sometimes at this moment, if you use the internet for information, sometimes now you doubt that information. What is real? What is
right.
not? When you are putting your health, your money, your life, depending on that information, of course you are scared. You are in fear of making a mistake
Yeah,
or that somebody, made you spend money or resources that you don't need to.
right,
Also, like I was telling you before, sometimes we are exactly at the age that we are at the border. We are in the line of all technology and new technologies, and that cross is scary. I can just imagine, by example, in the beginning of the last century, in the 1900s, when you are passing people to travel in a train
right,
to now, okay, now getting this thing that fly
right,
and, and go that place. So I bet there's a lot of people that no, I don't want to fly. This thing is going to fall down.
right.
Today, the people flying are bigger amount than the people using a train.
Right. That's exactly right. Yeah, the
Because technology
adoption,
has moved
it's
the
taken
people
a
lose.
while. It's taken a while on the adoption scale, right? It kind of took a while before that early majority and later majority really took over, but then that's when the market really changes.
Absolutely.
Well, and right
Uh,
now where we sit is so different. Like in our trajectory, we saw the internet and everything get connected, right? And we saw Y2K and the areas of like, was it programmed right? Will everything break? And there was a ton of money spent on getting everybody ready for Y2K, and then it just happened and everything was fine. And so
well,
the whole world was like, what was that all about? Wow, that was like there was more news articles and everything about that, and it was nothing. And
well, at that time, actually, like I tell you, I was living in Manhattan,
mm-hmm,
and just like in the movies, was people in the streets, with sign that
mm-hmm.
says the end is near, and
Yeah, the end is near. Like the computer's
yeah,
not gonna,
yeah,
it's not gonna go from 99 to 2000. It's gonna just wipe itself. The whole
yeah,
planes will.
and
I remember people like they had like professionals online talking. Planes will be falling out of the sky. It'll be
yeah,
Armageddon. I'm like, who is this guy? What is he talking
well,
about?
yeah,
Like, you've got to
yeah,
be kidding me. That's so
yeah.
funny.
At that time, I was also going to Colombia, but also working like I tell you, medical assistant. And I remember in the hospital I was working for, everybody was like, "Oh my God, all the devices, even devices that at that time wasn't even
I
connected
know.
to
Well, that's the whole thing.
nothing."
And you and I've talked about this. I mean, when you think about it, 15, 20 years ago, we really had a separation between the digital and the physical worlds that we were in. We had
Yeah,
computers at the hospital, computers at the office, and they were helping. We were able to put things in, right? We were scanning the paper documents, getting them into the servers. But the truth is if the computers didn't work one day, right, for whatever reason, could have been a cyber attack, could have just been a glitch, could have been an internet issue, whatever it is, we were fine, right?
yeah,
We still had, it wasn't even that we still had the paper, but we
yeah,
had all the processes. We had all the ability to conduct business and render healthcare, etc., in the physical world. And now, in the last 5, 10 years, it's not that way, is it? Like everything is digitized, everything is on a tablet, everything sits
yeah.
on a server, and we've not only digitized all that data, but the processes are gone, right? Like when things go down now, we don't have the ability most times to be able to still do things. And there's a
Well,
much greater impact now when things go south.
well, think about this, and this is something that probably a lot of people live of our age. You go to the supermarket, and was the moment that you just swipe your credit card.
Right.
I'm talking about the beginning. And if for some reason the system didn't work, do you remember that they have
Yeah.
like a tray that you
Yeah, you
put
would
the
go like
card and
that
was
and you would go
moving?
like that and go right up. You can't even do that with today's credit cards.
No, the credit
They're
cards
flat.
are not indented
Right. They're not
anymore.
even
They're
indented.
flat completely.
Yeah.
So that is how now we are pushed also to have something digital no matter what.
That's exactly right. That's a good example. Um, so in your role, talk to us about experiences in leadership that you've had and what you feel makes a good leader and some challenges that you've seen.
So I start, like I tell you, basically in the bottom. My first job was with a tobacco company, Philip Morris, in Manhattan,
Yep.
where basically I was just doing websites and analysis of websites.
Were you
Slowly,
trying to convince us to keep smoking? Was that it?
no,
Was
actually,
it
this is
like
the funny part here. And also, that was the fastest and weirdest job interview I have in my life.
really?
I went for the interview, prepared
Mm-hmm.
with, coding, my folder full of information. And the lady in human resources told me, do you care if people smoke in front of you? And I told him, no, my grandmother used to
Yeah,
smoke
we
like a
grew. I
trucker.
know, and
He
and,
said,
and
okay,
and a lot of younger people won't understand this, but we grew up with that. I grew up with
yes.
people smoking at the table, like it was weird.
Uh,
Like now, I can't even imagine it. But growing up, that was pretty normal. It's odd.
So I tell her, no, I don't have any problem with people smoking in front of me.
Yeah.
It's okay. Can you start Monday?
Can you start? That was it.
Like
That's
that.
the
That
litmus
was it.
test.
And later on, I discovered that at that time was Bill Clinton
Yep.
administration request that tobacco companies had a department for youth smoking prevention.
Oh, okay.
So try to make kids smoke, which to me was a joke because basically you are in a company with thousands of people working to sell you cigarettes, and then you have a group of 5 kids try to make websites, try to stop you to smoke
Right.
cigarettes.
Exactly.
So 9/11 came. My wife was working in the World Trade Center. My kid, the morning of September 11th, my kid was in the nursery school in building number
Oh,
5. Thanks God,
you're
just to
kidding.
make it
Oh
shorter.
my gosh.
Yes. So they were 15 minutes late.
Oh.
Actually, the second airplane passed over her head. She used to work in the 42nd floor of the South
Oh
Tower.
my gosh.
Yes. Yeah, but I cannot tell you because I will take another 4
Yeah.
episodes here. So we decided to move out of New York
Yeah.
City. And at that time, my in laws lived in upstate New York, Saratoga Springs.
Right.
So I started to look for a job over there.
Mm-hmm.
And was this in the news advertising says new video game company opening in Albany, New York, and we need an IT guy. So again, another weird interview. I went for the interview, show my papers, show my experience at that moment, and the lady, which become almost kind of my mother here in America for human
Yeah.
resources, says, "Perfect. Can you start Monday?"
What is the deal? You have
Yeah,
like the best
that's very
interview
good
luck
deal.
ever. Like that's
Yes,
fantastic.
well, perfect. Yes, I will start. And the next question was, can you bring your computer? Because we don't have computers
Oh,
at this moment. It's like, you know what? I need a job. I will start.
yeah.
Yes, of course. So I started working for a studio called Vicarious Visions, which
Oh,
I was number 25 at that moment.
wow.
And we got so big that by 2005, Activision Blizzard, the biggest video
Of
game
course.
company in the world,
Activision is huge.
acquired the studio. And I
Wow.
was with them for 16 years.
Wow.
Uh, and I from scratch. Basically, like I tell you, was just a starting company. I started actually by two amazing guys, Guha and Kartik Bawa, in the basement of their mom and dad. Uh, and I had to put computers together, like pieces from all computers. And really, the
Especially for the
server,
gaming development, they need the graphics cards. They need the like
everything,
massive, massive compute,
everything.
right? Oh yeah.
And so I got experience in software, in hardware, dealing with vendors, and I started to grow up until become a manager of the place. Even that I created the own
Yeah.
site. Sadly, uh, 16 years later, another bigger company came to cover Bungie, and all the upper echelon, the people would say, "Well, thank you very much for coming, blah blah."
Exactly.
And at that time, because I was in charge to get the hardware from Apple, was the beginning of putting games in smartphones. I became very good friend of people, basically in Apple. They knew that I was laid off. They offered me a job, and I become and I hate the title. It's the weirdest title, but I was the senior lead genius
Oh, for
of
Apple.
Apple.
Wow.
So my mother was right.
That's
With that in mind, work for them, etc., etc. Uh, I got divorced 2004, didn't
hilarious.
work. But then I met a woman here in Ohio.
And that brought
Like
you over to the
everybody else,
Midwest. Yeah.
online. So that's why I moved here. I got a job where we met before,
Hmm.
CHS, being the director of IT for that company. Later on, I actually worked for the Pope, for the Vatican, for the Franciscan Friars here in the United States.
So
Uh,
you've been a
I,
medical doctor, you've worked for the Pope, and you've worked for Apple, right? Like those
yes,
are all
Activision.
individual lifelong things. Like
Oh, yes.
that's several lives all rolled in one. Wow.
Yeah, and now here in Coleman
Yeah.
Services. Uh, the thing that I learned in my life, being in a profession where I am, is if you are happy with your boss, if your supervisor, your manager,
The direct report.
the main guy
Yep.
in front
The
of you
direct report.
make you happy
Hmm.
and make you succeed, your work will be higher quality.
I agree. And we hear that a lot that people don't leave organizations. They really just leave their manager sometimes. Right? And
That's
there
correct.
is, I mean, no wives' tale or urban myth or cliche applies to everybody clearly, right? But there are some things that I've seen that in my life. Like I've worked at really good organizations but had a bad manager and couldn't couldn't stay there, right? Or worked for an organization that, boy, a lot of people are complaining, but I've got a great manager and I'm really happy, right? So
Yeah,
you stay. So it's really there is some strong truth to that phrase for sure.
it is. I don't think it's enough money in the world for a long period of time that will pay you going to work when normally, oh my goodness, I have a meeting with that
I
guy,
know.
or I
It's
have to see the
exactly right.
face, or I have to do a report.
Or
Or,
Sunday
so,
night when you dread Monday. Like if that's the
yes,
case, you have
exactly.
to reassess. You really have to reassess because it's not. It goes by too quick. Like the
It,
entire your spin around this globe, right? We have so many spins and it goes by fast. And so you really have to find leaders that will support you, right?
absolutely. And we are all
Hmm.
humans. Uh, we are all basically spending more time with your coworkers than with your family in a lot of
Yeah.
cases. Where you notice that if you are unhappy in your place of work, your again the quality of your job, the quality of what you
Yep.
do, the
Your
uh,
output will be
your
better,
better
right? Your
is not
ability
there.
to volunteer, to do various projects and things, all of that goes up when you feel appreciated. You know,
Yes,
that's a really good point. I always, I've got kids and they're entering the workforce and they ask a lot and a lot of questions, which is great. But one of the things they're always saying is like when one employer isn't working out, I always try and let them know like just because one place doesn't see your value doesn't mean the value's not there. Like I know I'm biased because I'm their dad, but like I see the potential, I see the skills, I see the effort, I see that. I'm like, you just got to find the right place where they'll provide a safe place for you so that you can keep doing that because what you're doing is good, right? It's just a matter of doing it at a place that recognizes it.
absolutely. Also that goes against the company
Right.
because I have in my past managers that basically just like you says, uh, you have a wonderful employee, a great person that is a genius in what he does or
Mm-hmm.
she does, and last 2, 3, 4 months because the boss is asking things that is impossible to
Mm-hmm.
attach in that time. I think sadly a lot of people in the past has these kind of bosses where the boss doesn't even know exactly what he's asking for.
Right. They just
And in our world, in our technology world, in the past, I know bosses that told me, we need to make a program for tomorrow night for determine how many people is using our, software.
right.
It's like for tomorrow
Right.
night.
And you're like, that is a 9 month to 3 year project.
Yes,
Shall we gather a committee to talk about it, or right, it's not something you
yeah.
can whip up in a day.
And the problem is because they don't have the experience
Right.
themselves of what take to do
Yeah.
something. And sadly, we see that more and more sometimes with new uh, people coming to create businesses
Yeah.
that, like, oh, I will put a restaurant. I have the money to make a restaurant, but I don't know how to cook.
Right.
But I want to be, the best restaurant
Right. Or
here.
how to manage third party supply chain. Right. But I want to own a
Yeah,
restaurant.
exactly.
But you're like, but you have to
Exactly.
understand all those. So what is it? What have you found when you've had or you've been managing a team? Because when I first met you, I know you were managing a team. When you're managing a team, what do you find is a real effective way of being a positive leader, but then also getting them to get stuff done? Because there's a fine balance, right? Because everybody wants to be everybody's friend, but if
Yes.
you're too, because I've managed that way in the past, for for some cases, and they never get stuff done. I'm too nice, and then I realize, okay, we gotta change some things here because I can't be your buddy. I have to also lead, and we got to get this stuff done in a timely way, as directed, etc. And so then it becomes a matter of communication, cadence, check-ins, right?
Mhm.
Measuring the metrics.
So the thing that is important for me is to choose the correct people that also they are nice, but they are expert in what they claim they
Right.
are. And I noticed that if you are a person that entice them as much as possible, and you have the opportunity to tell them every time that something goes well how great they
Yep.
are, uh, in a psychological way, they don't want to let you down.
Right.
One of the things that you notice, and this is, with my own kids too, is when they disappoint you, they feel
Right.
terrible. They feel really
Yep.
bad. And they try not to disappoint you,
Yep.
which go farther instead of like a fear.
Yeah, I agree. That's kind of like because then they tend to make the effort with blood, sweat, and tears, and not just for the paycheck. Right.
Yes, exactly. Like what else I can do
Hmm.
to show my boss, to show my father, to show my mother, whoever person is the overseeing of what
Yeah.
you're doing, how I can make them feel that I am good
Right.
at the point that they says I am good.
Yep.
So that sometimes work better that screaming at them or
Yeah.
tell them that you're going to be fired, things
Yeah.
like that. I think it's much better.
I think you're spot on too. Personally, I mean that my experience has shown me that too. Because when you lead by kind of almost recognizing what matters to them, like some people, like, you'd be surprised. Like some people, even in like the business development role or the sales role, they're not even recognized. They're not even motivated by money. Sometimes, believe it or not, like they are motivated by achievement. They're motivated by competition. They're motivated by accomplish like
Mhm.
setting goals and then doing that. And the more you ask what motivates them and find out, then we're able to identify a path for them. Like, oh well, this one I have to coach a little differently than this one, right? Because the you want to highlight when they're doing things right to get to their ultimate goal. You want to highlight that. You want to celebrate that, right? Because then it gets them all pumped up and gets them excited about it.
Well, think about this. We have the experience of COVID,
Mm-hmm.
where a lot of people move from working in an
Yeah.
office
To working
to go
remote.
back and work at
Yep.
home. And the last report I was, checking was telling me that at that moment, the productivity of a lot of companies
Right.
increased. And you're talking about, people that didn't have the boss over the
Right.
shoulder, that they were doing basically what they need to do at that moment. One of the good things working for, Activision, for Apple, was
Oh, that's right. Wait,
the
hang on.
kind of,
You worked for Activision too. So you got to work for Activision, the Pope,
yeah,
and Apple.
yeah,
So,
Apple,
and a medical
yes,
doctor.
sort of,
So that's pretty cool.
yeah. So one of the things that was great is, if you want to go in your pajamas to work, you was able to
Right.
do it. Actually, you don't you want to be in the office
Yeah.
barefoot is no
Yeah.
problem. So what they were looking for was mostly for results.
Right.
Like if you have, and I remember every morning was a very fast meeting, just like in rugby. I forgot the name, how they call it. When they get together, but very fast, very easy approach to what you have to do today. And if the developer or the artist or the designer uh, accomplish that job in 1 hour, they couldn't go home without any problem. Like, okay, you really set up
Yeah.
everything that you need to do today.
That's great.
I
Yeah.
don't
I
need
mean, because
you here
people work
anymore.
at different speeds, and when they're able to focus
Exactly.
uninterrupted, I mean, to me, it seems almost like a matter of integrity, right? Like if because when people
Yeah.
work from home, it's kind of like when they're at the office and they have doors, right? And they're not in a cubicle, right? They work behind that door. Like you don't know what they're doing. No leader really knows what they're doing. Like they could be on the phone with their sister. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
And frankly, who cares? So long as the stuff is getting done, it's getting done timely. And when you do meet, they're bringing value to those meetings. They're demonstrating leadership. Like that's what matters. That's what drives an organization forward. It's not
Correct.
being monitoring them every hour to see that they're doing it because then they're only going to do it when there's so much fear there. Then they're only going to work enough not to get fired. They don't care about the mission. They're not loyal to you. Like it really changes the intent behind their activity.
Well, you have the famous slogan that says, "Look busy, Jesus is
Right,
coming."
exactly.
Basically, it's the idea of the
Yes,
boss. Okay, like you are watching something now, YouTube or something
right.
like that, and the keyboard used to have a boss
Yes,
key. Remember that you press and look
right.
like a
It
spreadsheet.
pulls up a spreadsheet. You're like, hell yeah, here I am.
Exactly.
I'm doing this. Meanwhile, you're like, so how are the Cubs doing today? And you're like really talking to them about the
Right.
game. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
exactly. So, and again, if you give me
Hmm.
results, if you give me what I needed at the moment that I needed, or you give that to the
Right,
company, the rest of your day you can go do
right.
whatever you want.
Exactly. And if he gets stuck, and I
Actually,
think one of the things that is really key is being able to explain to somebody that reports into you that when they get stuck to raise their hand early, that it's a safe place because you'd rather
yeah,
the moment they get stuck them come to you and you resolve it so that way they're unstuck, right? Like you want that. You don't want them to feel apprehension or anxiety or feel like they're failing just because they're getting stuck, because if they're going to deliver the whole trajectory of things, there's going to be obstacles, right? It's going to happen in every project. So just, raising your hand early is really key.
and my second approach to everybody that is in my team is, my job, my real job, no matter what company I'm working for, my job is to make your life
Right.
easier. I don't want to complicate your life. I want to make it easy. What can I do to make you
Right.
succeed. You need, and I'm going to put you example. I need a third party company to give access, administration access, uh, for the back end of our BI
Right.
developer here.
So you would
And
call us and we'll come in and no, I'm just teasing you. I'm just
no, no, that would be great. So let me tell you, he came and says, "Hey, I have now
right.
2 weeks waiting for this." So basically, okay, who is the owner of that company? Who is
Right.
the main guy? Hey,
Exactly.
this
Exactly.
thing
You
can take
yeah,
5 minutes. What
you
happened?
go over the top and you help resolve that so that your team member is in there waiting for 2 weeks. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
exactly right.
Which, is wasting resources, is wasting money, and we are just waiting for somebody to create an account that take 5 minutes. So that is,
Yeah,
what I'm
it's so
looking
true.
for.
I mean, I
So,
had in my experience when I first moved to Indianapolis, I was taking over this managing director role, and the CEO of the national company came in town and spent a few days with me, and only showed me one slide. There's only one slide, and it was an upside down triangle, and it said all the people at the top are the ones closest to the customers, and
yeah.
every leader below it, he said, we may have egos and think we're more important, but we don't exist without them. And our job is
Mhm.
each layer is there to support the one above it. And it's absolutely true. It was like the most truthful, very Simon Sinek esque, right? Like it was very much like the teachings of Simon Sinek, but it was very truthful. It was very practical because when you realize you've got to alleviate obstacles for the people that report into you, when you've got to make that call to that third party vendor, right, to clear that up, to get things going faster, that's what you're doing, right? Your job is to support those people because they are the closest ones to it. Yeah,
Correct.
that's absolutely phenomenal. That's great.
That that's the way to do it again. I have experiences uh, in Apple. People is screaming to the technicians, and really the technicians were, like, please don't scream at
Yeah,
me, etc., etc. And you discover that the person coming to the store upset because the phone or the computer was not
right.
working correctly. They don't even know that the cause of the problem was the way that they were using the phone or they were using the computer. I remember somebody that passed over his phone in the parking lot with the
Oh
car,
my.
and he got the piece of the phone in a zip bag, and he won a replacement. Like, hey, my phone! I just bought the phone. I want a replacement. Like, we
Yeah,
cannot give you a replacement. You
you
broke
just
your own
ran over your
phone.
phone, but
And again, the people don't
right.
understand that. Uh, it's situation that even are funny. I have a guy coming to one of the Apple stores with one of the first phones, iPhone
Oh yeah.
7, that was waterproof. And he came with the phone in a bag and
Oh
dripping water. So the funny part here is the most interesting and curious episode in Apple. The guy shows the phone, and the phone has a hole in the glass,
really?
and the guy was
Oh okay.
high,
Yeah.
really high.
Right.
You can smell it. So the guy says that he went to the bathroom, sit down, and in the moment they sit down, he hit with the head the
Okay.
wall, and a picture or something
Okay.
fell. So he decided to climb in the toilet, grab the nail, and hammer
With the
it
phone.
with the phone. So he hammered and he hit the phone. The phone flipped and falls in the toilet.
What?
And he came claiming that the phone wasn't working because it has water, and we Apple claimed that was waterproof.
Wow. So that's a
Like,
challenge. Yeah, that's a direct consumer challenge. Hey, let me ask you, when you were
So
working at Apple, and what years was that? Was that when Steve Jobs was still there, or was it under the Tim
I
Cook?
know he was sick. He is still alive,
Yeah, he
but
was very
he
sick
was
for a
not
while.
working for. I have to tell you, working for Apple is was amazing, was
Hmm.
great. But you can notice a little bit the OCD of Steve Jobs
Yes,
everywhere. The lights, the angle of the products, the distance
it was
between
all him.
products.
It
I'm
really
talking
was
about.
all him. Yeah,
Oh, yeah. We have a group called the Visual Group that used to come every morning before the stores open and check with a meter, a ruler, the distance between the angles. And then in the middle of the day, around 12, 1 o'clock, they came back again
really.
to re-put everything together. And then one more time before
Well,
closing.
it makes an impact though, doesn't it? When you think of
Oh, yeah.
industrial psychology or commercial psychology, right? Like you always think of the lighting, the angle of the device, because I've known several people that
Mhm.
have worked for Apple, and like when you go into the Apple stores, you think it's like, oh, it's just the retail store of it. I'm like, oh no,
Oh,
it is an experiment where they have
yeah.
orchestrated and choreographed everything from the moment you walk in to the moment you receive it to when you see it on the desk to the angle that it has in relation to the lights
Mhm.
above. They've thought about and researched all of it. Like,
Oh, you don't have it. The
yes,
furniture, the disposition
yeah,
of the furniture, the spaces in between the tables, all that
there's a design for all of it.
was like,
There's reasoning behind all of it.
oh
It's
yeah,
remarkable. I mean, it's why people stand in line for their devices, right? When the
yeah,
iPod came out, people were in line for 3 days in the rain to get the iPod, right? Just to be first. Meanwhile, the Microsoft Zune was there and was better. It was better built, better designed, everything else, and nobody freaking bought it,
yeah,
right? Because nobody had this
exactly.
Zune. Nobody even knows what that is, probably, right today, right?
Well, I I have to tell you, I met a guy that every time a new iPhone was released, that day he was getting three: one to use, one to keep, and
One
one
to
to
sell.
sell
Yep,
in eBay,
absolutely.
like that.
Isn't that amazing? It's well,
Yeah,
it's something about because they don't communicate. Again, it gets to that communication, right? They don't communicate about the features and the benefits of the technology. They talk about with the iPod, it was always you can walk around with 100 songs in your pocket. Everybody can relate to that. Everybody wanted that because we were
yeah,
used to having to buy full albums for one song, right? And then it's at home, and
yeah.
you're like, I just want that one song, and I want these two songs from that album. I want this one, and you want to be able to walk around with it. And they recognize that, and they just spoke in plain, simple language about you'll be able to walk around with 1,000 songs that you pick in your pocket. Like who
Or
didn't
more.
want that at the time? Everybody wanted it. So it's really, really
Yeah,
remarkable how they
the
communicate. Yeah, how
marketing.
they communicate.
Oh,
Yeah.
and now actually, today or yesterday, no, today was their conference,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
developer conference.
The new all of the new features. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and it's coming very heavy
Right.
with AI, which also that is going to change, uh, well, not only the face of technology in general, but also the workforce, how we will be working,
Well, let me ask you this:
how,
when it comes to AI, so let's talk about it because a lot of people are trying it. A lot of people are trying Gen AI. Not that many people are trying agentic yet. They're not like creating their own bots. A lot of a lot of tech people are, but a lot of individual users are just trying out AI because they're used to googling things, and when they search things and they realize how to prompt AI, it's much easier than Googling something, right? You Google something and you get the blue links, and then you have to go and click on every single
yeah,
one. A lot of them are vendor driven, right? So it's kind of biased. And then you have to click on it, and then you have to kind of figure out what the answer is yourself. Well, now with AI, you ask the question, it gives you the answer. Now, there might be links there too if you want to go deeper, but in general, you're just getting your answer and you're able to prompt it back and forth and then generate images from it, whatever you want. What are you? How do you see it affecting? Let's talk about healthcare for the first part. How are you seeing AI being rolled out in healthcare, and what are the pros, cons, risks?
Well, let me tell you something that I tell everybody that asks me, like a doctor, about AI. When you go to the doctor, you are hoping that that doctor was the best in his class, that knows all the subjects, that has experience with the problem that you're having, and you are one of thousands that he or she see with
Yeah,
that problem.
100%. I think
And that's where
that's
you
very
know
fair.
that
For me, I'm
doctor
just
is.
looking for a doctor that's not smoking Marlboro Reds right now. Like I just want like just doc. Can you just not be like
Yeah,
smoking in front of me? That's good. You're my doctor, right?
exactly. Yeah. So you are expecting all those
Right.
things from your
True.
doctor. Sadly, I'm talking about in the entire planet, not only United States, but how often people get
All the time.
misdiagnoses because the doctor has a bad idea of the problem or never saw the issue or is looking for something that he's already
Yeah.
has a pre idea that, oh, you have to have that,
Or
oh, you have to
driven
have
by
that, oh, you
drug
have to have that.
manufacturers, right?
Yes,
And so they're like, well, this scenario I might be able to prescribe that drug because and so there's that kind of bias or kind of right.
exactly. So what will happen if with AI, now you have the chance to put all the
The history,
historical
prior
information of
diagnoses,
medicine.
everything.
I'm talking about these things, the
Right.
Greeks and the Romans and all that, and not only United States, but all the planet. Doctors from China, from Japan, from Mexico, from France, England, all of them in one place. Now, also, what about if you fed this AI with X-rays and MRIs, and you compare? Well, this is a normal one. This is an abnormal
Right.
one, and this is abnormal because this, and this. So now you have an AI, let's call it an agent, that probably when you fit that device with all the symptoms that the patient has, now the probability that be certain in the diagnosis
Right.
is greater. And that would be great for me from the medical point of view because now I can, with a higher
Right.
level of certainty, determine the problem and take better care
Right.
of that patient. The problem there is always what about if you fed the
Inaccurate data. If you
AI
poison the
with
data
the
or
wrong thing?
just just fed it with inaccurate or insufficient
Exactly.
data up front.
So
Yeah.
that is what we need to see and check. And also, like, okay, how secure is this
Well, yeah,
information?
that to me is where
Uh,
it all like to me that's where the risk is, right? Because we've had instances where attackers have gotten in and they're always undetected when they get in. Like people don't have the right systems
mhm.
generally. And what they've been able to do, there was one case recently where an attacker got in and found all the organization's passwords on a sheet on SharePoint. It was even called passwords. Why? I don't know, but they did that. Now, the good thing is that it was encrypted, so the attacker couldn't use it. But what the attacker did is use the organization's internal AI and said, hey, I need to access these systems for an internal meeting. Can you please unlock this document, unencrypt it, and print it out in plain text?
Mhm.
And the AI did it. It was Copilot. Yeah, and
Yeah, I saw
yeah,
that news with
Copilot did it.
Copilot.
And
Yeah,
Copilot did what it's designed to do, right? The risk
yeah,
it wasn't the AI's fault. It's not that it was designed wrong or it's a faulty AI. No, it was excellent and it did exactly what it was programmed to do. The risk was they logged in by stealing somebody's credentials. Somebody had reused passwords, had done or been socially engineered, and with that now, they were inside and they were that person. So AI assumed they were an employee. It had been verified that they were the employee, and so there was nothing wrong with the AI doing that. But you see where that's a risk now too, because now you can ask
Absolutely.
the internal organization, where's the gold? Like, rather than me risking getting caught and being in here for months, I can work faster now by using your AI and saying, where's the gold? Like, where are all the W-2s? What folder are all where's the intellectual property? And go get it, find it, and exfiltrate it, right?
Yeah. And again, all these movies or TV shows where you see a hacker, dark room with multiple monitors typing, that is only the
Yeah,
movies.
that is not a hacker. Is not a kid in a hoodie in his mom's basement cracking code, drinking Red Bull. Like, they are literally buying access.
Yeah.
It's just organized crime. They look more like The Sopranos
Yes.
now than they do like a hacker movie. Really.
Actually, it's an interesting movie. It's a recent movie, action movie that is called The
Yeah.
Beekeeper, where actually is this conglomerate of I will call it scammers that you see them in
Right, like
normal
regular
office
space. Oh yeah.
cubicles with a manager walking, and they are
Yep.
basically criminals. And they steal the plot. Basically, they steal the information of a lady and the money, and you have the main actor go and save
Yep.
the day. But the interesting thing is, this is not like you says. It's a kid working with a hoodie in the bedroom of mom and
Well,
dad.
and they
No,
don't
no
even have
anymore.
to be that highly
Uh,
technical because the malware and the code is already done. They just buy it, right? It's just
yeah,
a
they will
service.
buy
They
it.
buy
Famous,
the service. They split the profits of what they'll steal with the designer of the code, and then they go.
yeah, the famous kitty
Yeah, that's
hackers
exactly right.
that they are kids that but with the inclusion of AI, things are going to be harder
Yeah,
for people, and they need to basically don't trust what you hear or what you
correct.
see anymore.
You just have to verify it, right? Before you, we always mention that when you see something on social media. I've got elderly relatives. They come to me all the time. They're like, "Can you believe this person said it?" I'm like, "They didn't say it. Hang on."
Yeah,
And I'll check it, and it's like, "See, they didn't say that." And they're like, "Well, what? What? It's right here. It looks official." And I'm like, "Because anybody
yeah,
can do that now. Like, if I want to get people thinking the way I want to think, I could just create the image, put it out there, and people start believing it, and then they forward it, and then that gets forwarded, and the thing goes viral, and you're like, "Oi, I just made that up," like, you know?
Well, a very fast anecdote to tell you. My aunt
Hmm.
lives in Spain, and every time that she sees something in YouTube, she's addicted to YouTube. I have, a
Right,
question from her. Oh, look what they are saying
right.
about COVID. And of course, I see the video, and the video is this person with a white coat and a
So
stethoscope
must
in the
know what
neck,
they're doing.
but he never
Right,
says he's I'm a
exactly.
doctor. And
No.
no, no, aunt, you
Right.
got in the trick.
Now AI's got it some in healthcare. I was on a panel for HIMSS for some healthcare leaders, and there were some AI companies there, and they were talking about how it is helping with the day-to-day processes. When you think of all the notes that physicians see
Yeah,
so many people today compared to the way it is, right? They see so many and they have all these notes periodically, and they're working nights and weekends to update those notes, and sometimes it could be inaccurate. But by leveraging AI, they're able to record it. I mean, you see it in business, in Teams meetings and Zoom calls. You can have the transcript, and then it can summarize things, and that similar thing. There's a lot of AI aspects that are being used. So there, I think it could be very helpful. Now the issue is going to be getting consent to use it from the patient, right? And then, like you said,
Yes.
where's that data kept? Meaning, if it goes down and you lose access to it, where are those servers? Because if they are sitting over in the Ukraine or in Russia or in
Mhm.
Middle East, maybe not
So, like, yeah, North
the
Korea.
most compliant use, right? It might not be the most compliant use. But
Absolutely.
if it's sitting here in San Antonio and it's in Texas and the servers are sitting here, then it seems like it would be compliant.
Yes,
Right.
more control,
Yeah.
closer for you to be sure that everything is under
Yeah.
regulation. This is interesting. Actually, before our meeting, you and mine, I have a talk with a company that is providing AI for the doctors, the therapists, the nurses, for
Yeah.
the reports. The main complaint of, again, the doctors is the time that they
Yeah.
spend uh, writing, the reports, that they spend more time
Right.
doing that than with the patient. So let's try to help them with that. But yes, security,
Yeah.
number one. The most valuable commodity in the world today is
Right.
not gold
It's time.
or oil or silver, or
Time.
is
Yeah.
data. If I get
Yeah.
data, I
Yeah.
get everything else.
Yeah. 100%. Because
That is,
data is, I thought you were going to say time, because the physician's time is the most valuable. But you're absolutely right. The data, because with the data, you can predict future purchases, you can predict future illnesses. Like you can draw things
yeah,
more than just buying it, right? Like it
pandemic. I
yeah,
can stop
that's
pandemics.
fantastic. Well, Dr. Sanchez, thank you so much for your time today. Tell us a little bit about Coleman Health Services and what all you guys provide. We'll have links in our show notes on them.
Yes, Coleman Health Services is mostly dedicated to people with mental health problems. We try to help in several locations in Ohio. We are trying to see if it's possibility to expand to neighboring states, and mostly put our patients first. And actually, we
Oh,
call
that's
them
great.
clients now.
Yeah, no, and the I've actually met, because I that's my old stomping grounds, but I've known people that have been affiliated with Coleman or received treatment, families and friends that have received treatment through Coleman, and just all good reviews. Like, people have a very positive experience. So it's just really good
Thank you
work what
so
you
much.
guys are doing. So that's that's fantastic. Well,
Thank
this
you.
won't be our last conversation, because you and I know each other, so we will talk again. But I want to thank you for your time today. Like, it's a remarkable. Any one of your lives could have been an entire episode. Like, we could have just talked about Apple. We could have just talked about Activision, because my kids would have loved me to dive deeper into that. Working for the Pope, we didn't
Of
even
course.
touch on that. We'll have to get that later. But really, really interesting things. So we really appreciate your time. And thank you so much, sir. We appreciate it.
It's a pleasure, Dave. I'm so, so happy again that you give me the opportunity to be here. And anytime, I am here
That
to
is
serve
great. Well,
everybody.
thank you, Dr. Sergio Sanchez with Coleman Health Services. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.